John Mercer stood on the crumbling edge of what used to be the Nevada Command bunker's observation deck. The sky burned red above him. Not the peaceful red of a sunset, but the angry crimson of a world on fire. Massive Vraxian warships hung in the atmosphere like metal predators, their weapon systems glowing as they targeted another human city. "Commander, we've lost contact with the East Coast," said Sergeant Rivera, his face streaked with blood and soot. "Europe went dark an hour ago." John nodded, his jaw tight. 6 hours. That's all it had taken for humanity's defenses to collapse. The orbital platforms had fallen first, their crews not even having time to send distress signals. "What about the bunkers in Colorado?" John asked, reloading his pulse rifle. "Gone, sir, direct hit." The bunker shook as another bombardment hit nearby. Dust and concrete rained down on them. Through the observation slits, John watched as Las Vegas, already a burning ruin, took another hit. The flash was blinding. When his vision cleared, nothing remained but a smoking crater. "Billions," he whispered. "They killed billions without even landing troops." The command radio crackled. "All units, fall back to sub-level 6. Repeat, all units to sub-level 6. The outer defenses are breached." John grabbed Rivera's shoulder. "Get everyone moving now." They raced through corridors filled with wounded soldiers and panicked technicians. Emergency lights flashed red, matching the blood that pooled on the floor. The bunker had been designed to withstand nuclear strikes, but the Vraxian weapons cut through it like paper. On sub-level 4, they found Captain Hayes trying to seal a blast door. "They're inside," she said, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. Some kind of boarding pods punched through levels 1 and 2. A scream echoed from the corridor behind her. Then another. Then silence. "How many men do we have left?" John asked. 23 combat ready. Maybe 15 more who can hold a weapon." "Not enough. Not nearly enough." "Sir." Rivera pointed down a side passage. "Movement." John raised his rifle and fired 3 quick bursts. Something screeched, a high, inhuman sound that made his teeth hurt. A creature stumbled into view, smaller than he expected. Its skin was pale blue, almost translucent, with a complex pattern of veins visible beneath. Not a Vraxian warrior, but something else. The alien collapsed, purple blood pooling beneath it. John approached cautiously, rifle aimed at its head. The creature's eyes found his. It spoke, the words somehow forming in John's mind rather than his ears. "You are not supposed to fight back," it said. "The others, they fear what you might become." "What are you talking about?" John demanded. "Your minds, human minds, immune to the network. You cannot be controlled. That is why you must be removed." The alien's hand moved, revealing a small data crystal. "Take this, understand us before it's too late." John hesitated, then grabbed the crystal. The alien shuddered once and went still. Another explosion rocked the bunker, closer this time. The lights flickered. "Commander, we need to move," Hayes urged. "Get everyone to the emergency vehicles," John ordered. "We're evacuating." "Sir, there are wounded who can't be moved." "Then we leave them weapons to defend themselves. We can't save everyone, but we need to save someone." 6 months later, John stared at the same red sky from the window of an abandoned gas station. His group of survivors had grown to 38. They lived on scavenged food and hope that grew thinner each day. The radio they'd repaired crackled to life. A voice breaking through static. "This is Mars Colony Outpost. Our shields are failing. Repeat, our shields are failing. We are the last human settlement. If anyone can hear this." John turned to his team, determination hardening his features. "We're going to Mars." That night, as they prepared for the impossible journey, John found Rivera shaking uncontrollably in the supply room. When he turned, John saw something moving beneath his skin, something that didn't belong there. Rivera fell to his knees, clutching his neck where something moved beneath the skin. John grabbed him by the shoulders and dragged him into the supply closet, away from the others. "How long?" John demanded, his voice low and hard. 3 days, Rivera gasped. Found me while I was on patrol. Thought I killed it, but it must have got inside somehow. John pulled out his combat knife. We need to get it out. No time, Rivera said. We need that ship. Mars needs us. The abandoned military transport they'd discovered at a hidden airfield was their only hope of reaching Mars. It was old, but spaceworthy, with enough fuel for a one-way trip. Hayes, John called. She appeared in the doorway, her eyes widening at the sight of Rivera. Get the med kit and find something to bite down on, John ordered. We're doing surgery. They worked under the harsh glow of emergency lights. No anesthetic, no proper tools. Just a knife, forceps, and determination. Rivera screamed into a rolled-up shirt as John cut into the moving lump beneath his skin. Hold him down, John said as Hayes pressed her weight against Rivera's shoulders. Blood pooled on the concrete floor as John dug deeper. His fingers found something hard and slippery. He pulled, and a creature the size of his thumb emerged, its tiny legs thrashing. John crushed it under his boot. Cauterize the wound, he told Hayes. We launch in 30 minutes. The transport shuddered as it broke atmosphere. The 6 survivors strapped in tight as the engines strained against Earth's gravity. John watched through the viewport as their burning planet grew smaller. Course set for Mars, Hayes reported from the pilot seat. ETA 14 hours. Rivera lay strapped to a cot, his breathing shallow but steady. The journey was silent. Each person lost in memories of what they'd left behind. Parents, children, friends, an entire world. Mars grew larger in the viewport. Once a symbol of human achievement, now their last hope. The red planet's surface was dotted with the flashes of weapons fire. The colony's under attack, John said. Take us in fast and low. Hayes pushed the transport into a steep descent. Warning lights flashed across the control panel as they entered Mars's thin atmosphere. They've spotted us, she warned. Incoming fire. The ship rocked as something hit their port side. Alarms blared. Hang on, Hayes shouted as she threw the transport into a spin, narrowly avoiding another blast. They skimmed over the Martian surface, red dust billowing behind them. Ahead, the dome of the colony came into view, its shields flickering as Vraxian ships hammered it from above. Their shields are about to fail, John said. We need a distraction. He grabbed the weapons controls and targeted the nearest Vraxian ship. The transport wasn't built for combat, but its emergency flares might buy them seconds. Now, he shouted. Hayes fired the flares directly at the alien ship's sensors. The Vraxian vessel veered off, momentarily blinded. Colony control. This is Commander John Mercer. We're coming in hot. Open bay doors on my mark. Static answered him. Then a woman's voice. Commander Mercer, this is Dr. Allison Wright. We thought Earth was lost. Not all of it, John replied. Open your doors. We're bringing reinforcements. The colony's bay doors slid open just wide enough for their transport to slip through. They landed hard, the ship's landing gear crumpling under the impact. As they stumbled out, Dr. Wright met them. Her face was thin, her eyes haunted. You're just in time, she said. The shields will fail in less than 3 hours. What are we up against? John asked. Come see for yourself. She led them to the colony's command center. On the main screen, a massive Vraxian ship approached Mars. That's not a warship, Dr. Wright said. It's a harvester. They're not here to destroy us. She turned to John, her expression grim. They're here to harvest our brains. The command center fell silent at Dr. Wright's words. John stared at the massive ship on the screen, its shape unlike the warships that had destroyed Earth. This one looked like a giant metal spider, with long appendages that could reach down to the surface. Why our brains? John asked. Dr. Wright pointed to a brain scan displayed on a side monitor. Human neural patterns contain a structure the Vraxians can't replicate. We discovered it when studying their dead. They use psychic networks to control their slave species, but humans are immune. The alien I found in Nevada said the same thing, John said. That's why they attacked us first. Not just immune, Dr. Wright continued. Our brains can disrupt their network, They're harvesting us to study this trait and eliminate it. A loud boom shook the colony. Dust fell from the ceiling. Shield at 28%, a technician called out. John turned to Hayes. What weapons do we have? Almost nothing, Dr. Wright answered. We're a research colony. John thought for a moment. The alien data crystal I found. Can you analyze it? Dr. Wright took the crystal and inserted it into a reader. Information flooded the screens. Vraxian ship schematics, communication protocols, and biological data. This is incredible, she said. With this, we might be able to create a weapon that targets their neural systems. How long? John asked. An hour, maybe 2. We don't have 2 hours, Hayes reminded them. John made a decision. Dr. Wright, start working on that weapon. Hayes, Rivera, come with me. We're going to buy some time. They raced to the colony's maintenance bay where workers were repairing equipment. We need to build jammers, John explained. Dr. Wright's research shows the Vraxians are sensitive to specific frequencies. If we can broadcast those frequencies from multiple points around the colony, it might disrupt their ships. They worked frantically, converting communication equipment into makeshift jammers. When finished, they had 6 devices ready to deploy. Each team takes 1 jammer to these locations, John said, marking points on a map. Set them up and activate them on my signal. The teams moved out, using the colony's maintenance tunnels to reach their positions. John and Hayes took the most dangerous spot, a communications tower directly under the Vraxian harvester. They climbed the tower as the massive ship loomed overhead. Its appendages were already extending toward the colony dome. Shield at 12%, Hayes reported through her comm. John attached the jammer to the tower's transmitter. Everyone in position. Confirmations came in from all teams. Activate on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark. All 6 jammers powered up simultaneously. The effect was immediate. The harvester's appendages spasmed and retracted. Smaller Vraxian ships veered off course, some crashing into each other. It's working, Hayes shouted. Inside the command center, Dr. Wright watched the Vraxians' confusion. The jammers are disrupting their neural network, but it won't last long. They'll adapt. She turned to her team. The weapon is ready. It's a neural pulse that will permanently disable their network within range of the colony. Activate it, ordered the colony commander. Dr. Wright hesitated. There's a problem. The pulse needs to be calibrated to a living human brain. Someone needs to connect directly to the device. Outside, John and Hayes watched as the harvester began to recover, its movements becoming more coordinated. They're adapting, John said. The jammers won't hold them much longer. His comm crackled. Commander Mercer, return to the command center immediately. Dr. Wright's voice was urgent. We have a way to stop them, but we need you. As they raced back through the tunnels, a massive shockwave hit the colony. John and Hayes were thrown against the wall as emergency lights flashed red. Shield failure in central sectors, announced the colony AI. Breach detected. Vraxian forces entering the colony. They reached the command center to find chaos. Colony defenders fired at Vraxian soldiers pushing through a breach in the dome. Dr. Wright stood by a strange device, her face grim. This will stop them, she said, pointing to the neural pulse device. But whoever connects to it will have their mind linked to the Vraxian network. What happens to that person? John asked. Dr. Wright looked him in the eye. We don't know. A Vraxian blast hit nearby, sending sparks flying across the room. I'll do it, John said. Dr. Wright guided John to a chair next to the neural pulse device. Metal restraints automatically closed around his wrists and ankles. These will keep you from hurting yourself, she explained, attaching sensors to his temples. The connection might cause seizures. Hayes and Rivera set up a defensive position at the command center entrance. The sounds of fighting grew closer. How long will this take? John asked, his mouth dry with fear he refused to show. 30 seconds to establish the connection. Another minute to calibrate the pulse. Dr. Wright worked quickly, her fingers flying over the controls. Once it fires, all Vraxians within the colony should be neutralized. John nodded. Do it. She pressed a button, and pain shot through John's skull. It felt like ice picks driving into his brain from all directions. He bit down hard, tasting blood as he fought to remain conscious. His neural patterns are syncing with the Vraxian network, Dr. Wright reported. 20 seconds to full connection. The command center door burst open. Hayes and Rivera opened fire as Vraxian soldiers poured in. Their bodies were tall and insect-like, with multiple arms holding weapons that fired bursts of blue energy. "Hurry!" Hayes shouted as she took cover behind a console. The pain in John's head intensified. His vision blurred, then split into multiple perspectives. He could suddenly see through dozens of eyes, Vraxian eyes, throughout the colony. He felt their thoughts, their hunger, their cold determination. "Connection established," Dr. Wright announced. "Calibrating pulse now." John gasped as his consciousness expanded further. He could see beyond the colony, into the harvester ship above. Thousands of minds connected in a vast network. And behind them all, something else. Something ancient and vast and hungry. "There's something else out there," he managed to say, his voice strained. "Not just Vraxians, something controlling them." Dr. Wright looked at him in shock. "What do you mean?" "The Void," John whispered, the name coming to him through the network. "They call it the Void consciousness. It's from another dimension. The Vraxians are just its tools." A Vraxian blast hit Rivera in the shoulder. He fell back but kept firing. "Pulse ready in 10 seconds, Dr. Wright said. John's mind reached deeper into the network. He could feel the Void now, a cold intelligence that had consumed countless civilizations. It sensed him too. "It knows what we're doing," John warned. "It's trying to stop us." The remaining Vraxians in the command center suddenly stopped attacking. They turned as one and rushed toward the neural device. "Fire the pulse now," Hayes shouted, emptying her weapon into the approaching aliens. "It's not ready," Dr. Wright replied. 5 more seconds." John felt the Void reaching for him through the network, trying to crush his mind. But something unexpected happened. Instead of being overwhelmed, John's consciousness pushed back. The human neural structure that made them immune was now working as a weapon. "Now!" Dr. Wright hit the activation switch. The pulse fired. A wave of energy burst from the device, passing through John and expanding outward. Every Vraxian in the colony collapsed instantly, but John remained connected to the network. His mind soared beyond Mars, following the neural pathways that connected all Vraxian ships. He saw Earth, still burning, but with pockets of human resistance. He saw other planets where enslaved species fought their masters. And he saw the Rift, a tier in space where the Void consciousness reached into our dimension. The restraints released. John stood up, his eyes unfocused. "John," Hayes approached cautiously. "Are you okay?" "I know where they come from," he said. "I know how to stop them all." Dr. Wright scanned him with a medical device. "His brain activity is off the charts. The connection should have terminated when the pulse fired." "The pulse didn't disconnect me," John explained. "It expanded my reach. I can see everything now." He turned to the main screen, which flickered to life without anyone touching it. It showed a distant point in space where reality itself seemed to warp and twist. "That's the source," John said. "The dimensional rift where the Void enters our universe. If we close it, we can save everyone." "How do we get there?" Hayes asked. John looked at the ceiling toward the harvester ship that now hung silent above them. "We take their mothership." The harvester ship hung in space like a massive metal spider. Inside its control chamber, John stood before a window that showed the dimensional rift, a wound in reality that pulsed with sickly light. The journey had taken 3 weeks. 3 weeks of fighting through Void-corrupted creatures that grew more twisted the closer they came to the rift. "The device is ready," Dr. Wright said, her voice hollow with exhaustion. She gestured to a modified version of the neural pulse generator. "It will use your connection to seal the rift, but..." "But what?" Hayes asked. She stood guard at the chamber entrance with Rivera and the freed Kildari warriors who had joined their cause. "Whoever activates it will have their consciousness scattered across dimensions," Dr. Wright explained. "Their mind will be torn apart, experiencing every possible reality simultaneously. Forever." John nodded. He had known this since the moment he connected to the network. I'll do it. No, Dr. Wright grabbed his arm. There has to be another way. There isn't, John said. I'm already connected. It has to be me. A massive impact rocked the ship. Warning lights flashed across the control panels. Void creatures breaching level 4. Rivera shouted into his comm. They're coming from all directions. Through the neural network, John felt them. Beings that were once living creatures from dozens of species, now corrupted and transformed by the void. They swarmed toward the control chamber, driven by the void's desperate need to protect the rift. Get the device ready, John ordered. I'll hold them off as long as I can. Hayes handed him her spare weapon. It's been an honor, Commander. John nodded, his throat tight. Get everyone to the escape pods once the rift starts to collapse. The ship won't survive. The chamber doors slid open. The Keldari warriors moved into defensive positions as corrupted creatures poured into the corridor, twisted amalgamations of flesh and metal that screamed with multiple mouths. John fired into the mass of bodies, each shot finding its mark. The neural connection let him anticipate their movements before they happened, but there were too many. Now, Dr. Wright, he shouted as the creatures pushed closer. She activated the device. It hummed to life, energy building around it. John backed toward it, still firing. A creature leaped at him, its claws slashing his arm. He kicked it away and reached the device. Go, he ordered. Get to the escape pods. Dr. Wright hesitated, then nodded. She grabbed Hayes by the arm and they ran, the remaining survivors following. John placed his hands on the device. Pain exploded through his body as the connection deepened. His consciousness expanded beyond the ship, beyond the rift, into dimensions humans were never meant to experience. He saw the death of countless civilizations, the birth of stars, the cold hunger of the void as it consumed galaxy after galaxy. But something unexpected happened. Instead of being destroyed, John's mind adapted. The unique structure of human consciousness that made them immune to control now allowed him to resist being scattered. In that moment of clarity, John realized the truth. Humans weren't just resistant. They could reshape reality through sheer will. He focused all his determination on the rift, not just to close it, but to push the void back to its own dimension, to create a barrier it could never cross again. The rift began to collapse, energy surging back through it. The ship shuddered as systems failed. The corrupted creatures screamed as their connection to the void was severed. Across the galaxy, enslaved species felt the psychic network collapse. The Varaxians fell, their minds empty without the void to control them. Ships drifted in space, suddenly pilotless. On Earth, the remaining human survivors looked up as the red sky cleared for the first time in months. 6 months later, Dr. Wright stood on a hill overlooking the first new human city being built from the ruins. The night was clear, stars shining brightly above. He saved us all, Hayes said, joining her. Dr. Wright nodded. Look, she pointed to the stars. For a moment, the constellations shifted, forming a pattern that looked like a human face. John's face, watching over the world he had saved. They had given up on the galaxy, Dr. Wright said quietly. But humanity never learned how to surrender.